Hey, Ashley, I just want to check, make sure that my mic is working.
Good morning, Vicki. Yes, I can hear you.
Good morning. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good morning, everyone. Presently, it does appear that we have quorum, so we are ready to start when you are ready.
Okay, sorry, my computer is freezing. Just give me 2 seconds and we will get started. Can you hear me, Ashley?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Sorry, just give me 5 more seconds. And if I can't get my video on, then I apologize to everyone. My video will not be on today, but I'm having computer issues, I guess. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. So we'll go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we will take a moment for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excuse me, President Lee. Daniel or Aaron, are you able to switch the slides? Thank you.
Okay. And then Aaron, with that, if you could do the roll call, please.
Sorry about that. President Lee?
Here.
Vice President Close?
Here.
Superintendent Hoffman?
Here.
Mr. Tremoni?
Here.
Ms. Barr?
Here.
Dr. Crockett?
Aye, here.
Ms. Foster?
Here.
Ms. Monteith?
Here.
Mr. Ruiz?
Here.
Mr. Stratton?
Here.
Mr. Swanson? President Lee, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. And just a few housekeeping rules regarding virtual meetings. Board members, please stay muted after each agenda item. We'll allow for an open discussion and dialogue first, and then Ashley may go through roll call to see if any member has an additional comment or question if needed. To ensure each board member is heard, please state your name before you speak. Board members, I am having some computer issues right now, so please, if you have something to say, unmute yourself. Say, hey, I have something to say, just because I can't see any of the board members right now. So feel free to do that. Charters on the agenda, they will stay muted until the item is considered. We'll ask if the charter is available, and if so, the charter can unmute themselves at that time, and the general public is viewing the meeting via a live stream. Before we go on to the superintendent's report, just over the past couple of months, we've had a few board members who are no longer serving on the board, and we'd really like to recognize them for their time and what they've done for the charter board and the charter community here in Arizona as a whole. Each one will receive a plaque for their years of service, and unfortunately, both Matt Mason and Justin Rice were not able to be with us today. However, I do just want to quickly thank them both for all of their time and effort that was spent on the board. We do have two members who are here with us virtually, Rachel Yanoff and Janelle Wood. Rachel, just on behalf of the full board, I want to thank you so much for your many years of service on this board, just for bringing all of your knowledge, what it takes to start a successful charter and then to successfully operate a growing network of charters. I remember when I first came on, you were on the board, and I definitely was a bit of a fangirl just having you on the board and just getting your knowledge. And really, you have been an instrumental part of the decisions that have been made over the last couple of years. And so really, I just appreciate all the time you allowed us to have of yours. So thank you so much. Board members, I don't know if there's anything that anybody else would like to say about Rachel. There's a million things we could say. I'll give a second just in case anybody wanted to unmute and say anything. Virtual is always tough. Okay, if not, Rachel, is there anything that you wanted to say? I didn't want to put you on the spot, but just in case you had something that you wanted to say, I didn't want to miss out on that opportunity.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. And, running schools is one thing, and then regulating schools is totally different and new. And I learned a lot. And I think, it's really important that we have all the perspectives. So I really appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. All right. And then Janelle Wood. Janelle started serving with the board last year. And I just want to thank you, Janelle, for your desire to serve just your state and the community. I remember meeting with you and having lunch, and just really your heart was to make an impact for youth and to further, to further the mission that you've been doing for years. And so thank you for giving us your time. I know you're also busy. And so I just really appreciate your perspective and all that you've brought to the board. And I know that, you're going to go on to do bigger, better things and help all those that, that are around you. So thank you for that. And Janelle, I didn't know if you wanted to say anything to the board. Don't feel any pressure to, but you're more than welcome. If at this time you want to unmute yourself and say anything, you can.
And presently, I believe Ms. Wood is connecting to audio right now.
Oh, perfect. Okay, good.
Presently, I believe that Ms. Wood just logged off.
Okay.
So she may be having some computer problems. I'll work with her to see if I can get her back on.
Okay, feel free to interrupt us at any time, Ashley. Okay, to do that. But Janelle, if you can hear us, thank you so much. Okay.
I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
Yeah, Janelle, thank you so much just for everything. And we're excited to see, I know that you're not out of the charter world, so we're excited to see, what you have moving forward. So
I appreciate you all. And thank you, Board President. I appreciate you all and all board members. Thank you so much for the opportunity to serve in this capacity and to serve our children in that capacity. And you're right, I will continue to be that servant for our children throughout this state for the rest of this year.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys. Like I said,
All right.
Expect your plaques. We appreciate it.
All right.
All right. Bye, Janelle.
Bye.
Okay. With that, now we have the superintendent's report. Superintendent Hoffman, what do you have for us?
Thank you. Good morning, President Lee, Vice President Close, board members. Before beginning, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge respectfully the geographical landscape of Maricopa County sits on the ancestral homelands of those Indigenous nations that have inhabited this land for centuries, including the Pima, Lehigh, and Lavine peoples. Slide. I have a little PowerPoint for everyone. And I do want to share the focus of my presentation will be on our American Rescue Plan funding allocation and investments. We have, over the past several months, been rolling out announcements about how the department's been allocating our set-aside investments in both school and community organizations. And I did share a bit about this in the last meeting, and we've been bucketing these announcements over the summer. We still have even more to come, but so go ahead to the next slide. First, wanted to highlight again, I think I shared about some of this before, that the first announcement was about the investments in community-based organizations that are supporting our students' physical and mental well-being. One of these that I wanted to highlight was the Mindfulness First organization, because I did have the pleasure of visiting the David Crockett Elementary School in the Belt School District in Phoenix, that they have been working with Mindfulness First for about 7 years now, and it was amazing to see the students utilize the different strategies and practices around mindfulness and self-regulation so that they were able to tell us that they felt more focused in school, and they had seen a significant decline in the number of behavioral concerns from their students. So that was really impressive to see. Next slide. We were also excited to invest in a couple local organizations supporting our students with disabilities. As someone who worked in special education as a speech language pathologist, I was especially excited to see that the Arizona Autism United is specifically using these funds to expand their speech and language therapy services for children with autism throughout Maricopa County. Next slide. We all know how critical literacy and play are for our students, and so I was really excited to see these community-based organizations supporting literacy as well. The Arizona PBS kids use their funding for what they call the Y Camp, or WHY Camp, which is an early literacy evidence-based pre-K summer program. So really excited for that to help our students have a successful transition into kindergarten. Next slide. In reviewing the data from past years, we all know how critical it is to support our Native American or Indigenous students in Arizona. And so we were really proud to support these initiatives, including the Native SOAR program out of the University of Arizona, which establishes a comprehensive multi-generational mentoring program that centers on the needs of Native students from preschool through post-secondary. Several of our awardees were LEAs or also our county superintendent's offices. So we were really excited. I know I'm excited about all of these, but we were thrilled to be able to invest in some of our local community efforts. One of these examples is the Cottonwood Oak Creek School District, which they submitted a proposal to build out their family school connections through the implementation of the academic parent-teacher teams. This is a family engagement model that is grounded in the notion that our schools thrive when families and teachers work together as genuine partners to maximize student learning inside and outside of the school. And we know, having seen all of the tension in school board meetings, I think this is a really great way to invite parents in to be a part of their children's education and really build out those teams. This is a great model for other schools across the state. Next slide. STEM continues to be a high priority for us, and so several of our local institutions are helping us to build up on our STEM opportunities for our students. Next slide. I'm going to breeze through a couple of these. There's so many. We've continued to partner with the Center for the Future of Arizona. They had 2 different proposals that we awarded for. One is focusing on their Arizona Pathways to Prosperity to increase college and career readiness, as well as supporting their school participatory budgeting processes. So helping students to really engage in civics and be thinking about their careers from a young age. Slide. And building on that, similarly, these organizations, including the Arizona Business Education Coalition, are also supporting our students' career readiness skills starting in middle school and high school. Next slide. One of our other populations of students that needs some extra attention is our students who are bilingual or multilingual and still working on mastering their English skills. So it's really important to us to have this opportunity partnering with WestEd, which utilizes research and evidence-based practices to support our English learners through a professional learning model for our educators. Next slide. And we all know how critical it is for supporting our rural students. The Arizona Student Opportunity Collaborative is a really innovative way that's delivering more rigorous coursework to our students, targeting our students in rural parts of the state. They are now in their third semester of operations, and this will help them to scale up. But through the Arizona Student Opportunity Collaborative, students have the opportunity to take dual enrollment courses, CTE courses, honors classes, AP classes. It's really targeting having more of those types of rigorous coursework opportunities for our rural students who may not have access to those teachers in their local school. Next slide. Here's a few more that are really focused on supporting our families, their mental health, supporting our low-income families and students across the state. Next slide. And this is a fun one for supporting our students' access to extracurricular activities through the Phoenix Conservatory of Music that will be reinforcing our students by providing after-school music lessons for students in grades from 3rd grade through 8th grade. As well as providing tuition-free group classes and music lessons for our high school students. So if you want to follow along as we continue to roll out these announcements, you can follow on my social media, or you can check out our website and stay tuned about these announcements. Next slide. Go ahead to the next slide. I just want to talk about how this is an update on one of our prior investments. This is one of our earlier buckets of ESSER funding that we invested in the first ever teacher residency program. I know I've shared about this before, but over the summer I had the opportunity to kick off the first cohort. So I was really excited to see they have 26 teacher residents in this program, and about half of them identify as people of color. We had many men also part of this new program. So we're excited to see as they get started with some of our local elementary school districts. Next slide. One of our other investments has been partnering with ASU Digital Prep to create the Math Momentum program, knowing that over the past couple of years during the pandemic, our students did see a greater decline in their math proficiency than compared to other academic areas. So we've been very intentional and invested millions of dollars in this investment, and they're already seeing the success when they're looking at their benchmark data. And they pointed out to us that most notably, their students who are in rural parts of the state have actually seen the most growth out of this program. So that's really exciting. Next slide. One of our other prior investments was in the PACS Good Behavior game, which is an evidence-based practice for helping our teachers provide positive reinforcement systems in their classroom. So this is meant to help with supporting teachers with their students' behavioral needs. And we have had educators in 13 out of our 15 counties participate in these trainings. And they have overwhelmingly shared that these trainings has been supporting them in the classroom and is not taking away time from their other academic needs. And this training is still available and free for all Arizona educators, including all of our charter school educators. So we would encourage educators to take advantage of this opportunity if they are thinking about needing extra support on supporting their students' well-being and behavioral needs in the classroom. And that concludes my updates. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Superintendent Hoffman. Board members, are there any questions for the superintendent? Okay. Super excited about the teacher cohort program. So thank you for sharing on that. I'm also excited about all the initiatives that are happening, but particularly that one. And so Thank you. Okay, up next, we have the Executive Director's Report. Ashley, you're up.
Thank you, President Lee. Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Superintendent Hoffman, President Lee, and board members. My update to you is pretty short today with just a legal update. With regard to Pinnacle Education, we are continuing to have discussions to resolve the ongoing matter, and they have been placed on the agenda today for additional consideration. Parkview School, this is a charter that the board did issue a notice of intent to revoke based on the board not meeting, or the charter not meeting the board's financial performance expectations. We did get an update earlier, I guess it was in July now, but the charter holder did file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So we are keeping apprised of what's going on with this charter. Additionally, we did file with the Office of Administrative Hearings a status update to the court. So we did file that last week. We will continue to keep you updated on that school and how we continue to move forward with the actions that the board did take. In addition, we had Phoenix Advantage Charter School. This is a charter that the board did issue a notice of intent to revoke based on the operational performance framework. The charter did surrender its charter, and we received that signed surrender agreement last week as well. So that will close out Phoenix Advantage Charter School and all the additional procedures that were to come. The last charter that I need to update you on is Arizona Education Solutions. This is a charter that did appeal its partial enrollment cap increase, and they also have been placed on the agenda to continue discussions to resolve the matter. And presently, that is all that I have to report to the board at this time.
All right, thank you so much for that, Ashley. Board members, any questions for Ashley before we move on? Okay, then if not, we are moving on to the public comment, and no public comment or request to speak was received. So moving on to the consent agenda, board members, are there anybody that needs to recuse themselves from the consent agenda, anything that you'd like to remove from the consent agenda? And if neither of those two things apply, is there anybody that would like to make a motion?
President Lee, this is Hans.
Yes, please.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second. This is Board Member Stratton.
Thank you, Board Member Stratton. Aaron, with the roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Mr. Trimoni,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Ms. Monteith,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Stratton,
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving on. Now we have a charter replication presentation by Sandy. And if the charter reps just want to get ready, we won't have you unmute yourselves yet for Morrison Education Group, but after the presentation by Sandy, go for it.
President Lee, Superintendent Hoffman, Morrison Education Group Incorporated submitted an application to replicate its charter, which has been in operation since 2009. If approved, the new charter will be held by the same entity as the existing charter. The proposed school will be called Sun Valley Academy Glendale and will serve grades K through 8 in Glendale with the target start date of July 22nd, 2024. If approved, the charter will have an enrollment cap of 900. After board materials were posted, the charter holder provided additional internal data for consideration. That data was posted as an additional appendix on Friday morning. Representatives of the charter holder are prepared to address the data and any other questions you may have this morning.
Thank you so much for that, Sandy. Board members, do you have any questions for Sandy before we invite the charter on? Okay, then if not, now if there's a charter representative, you can go ahead and unmute yourself at this time, state your name for the record and any statement you'd like to make.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Tanae Morrison. I'm the founder of Sun Valley Academy.
Welcome.
Thank you. President Lee, may I make an address?
Yes, please. Yep.
13 years ago, I left Chandler Unified School District as a teacher and a school counselor, and I founded Sun Valley Academy in the heart of South Phoenix. Living in the community as a member, I saw Black and Brown children not having the same high expectations, accelerated learning opportunities, and resources available as compared to the children I was serving in Chandler. I knew that the emphasis combined with love could empower students to learn and lead, and they have, despite challenges of poverty, mobility, and COVID-19, our students continue to demonstrate remarkable growth towards proficiency. Our consistent ranking as a B performing school underscores our ability to move students farther, faster towards academic, social, and emotional success, which is important. Our performance earned this board's approval for replication at our second site in Avondale in 2020, which opened in the midst of a pandemic. It's this same performance that brings me here today, asking for the opportunity to bring our model to Glendale in 2024. In the next few moments, I'm going to focus on the statistics and the facts about our two campuses, but I believe it's important to remind ourselves that behind every stat, there is a story, and behind every fact, there is a face. Statistics are important. I agree wholeheartedly, but so are the faces of the students we serve and the families who choose us. In my heart and in my mind, I see their faces and I know their stories. I'm keeping them in mind as I share our data with you. So a bit of context around the executive summary data. In analyzing the data to share with you, one thing became immediately evident, and that was the impact of COVID school closures in 2021 and 2020. It was devastating to student outcomes, especially for students of color and poverty, which is our demographic. When looking at our historical data, which I refer to as BC, before COVID, it's obvious that our model was proving effective in accelerating academic growth and proficiency. It's how we earned our letter of a B ranking for many years. But there is a clear demarcation between that historical performance data and our 2020 and 2021 data. In our schools, we call that AD, after disruptions. COVID learning interruptions have had a clear impact on Sun Valley Academy scholars and students across Arizona. In November of 2021, the Arizona State Board of Education released a report outlining the impacts of COVID on learning interruptions and school closures. Along with proficiency and growth data from the 2020-21 statewide assessment, the board studied statewide data on student enrollment, student mobility, and AZELA. They found that earlier grades saw larger impacts than older grades. Math was impacted more largely than ELA. Students moved more frequently between schools in 2020-2021 school year than previous years, and the English language learners continue to struggle more than their English proficient peers. This data also reflects the most recent report from the National Center for Education Statistics that reflects that 1/3 of all US students were behind grade level at the end of this past school year. Sun Valley Academy's two campuses reflect the reality of this data. If you look at our FAY from 2019 to the most recent year, you can see the impacts of mobility. Board members, we own our data, all of it, even the past 2 years. COVID interrupted our historical performance, but it does not, and it will not, absolutely, it will not define who we are and what we do to move students towards academic, social, and emotional success. Our track record is proven, and it's given us a well of strengths from which we draw on in overcoming the pandemic's impact. Let me briefly just share a couple of things that we're doing to accelerate and improve student outcomes today and in the future. All of our scholars, all SVA scholars have access to free multiple streams of intervention targeting ELA and math. These include Saturday school, intercession school, boot camps, weekly tutoring, summer school. We've also added additional counselors and SEL coaches to help students rise above the social and emotional impacts of COVID, and this does affect academic performance, as we know. We've also applied for and received several grants, including Superintendent Hoffman referenced the PBS grant. We are partnering with PBS, and we hosted a program for our entering kinders, which proved very successful. So we've reached out to provide those different grants and revenue streams to allow us to provide strategic and targeted academic programs specific to COVID interruptions and learning loss. Additionally, just this week, the Washington Post reported on critical teacher shortages nationwide. I know we're all too aware of this in our state and on our campuses, but that's why Sun Valley refined and implemented stronger teacher development and retention programs. And I am pleased to say that 91% of our staff returned this year, thanks to that initiative. So these strategies are already paying off. Our 21-22 data was strong. Using district assessments, we saw significant gains in growth. For example, Avondale, our third grade reading data initially showed 1 out of 29 students meeting a benchmark for the cumulative assessment. But by data point 2, 20 out of 30 students met the benchmark. That's more than a 66% overall increase by grade level. In math, that same class demonstrated 93.3 overall growth in grade level. At our South Mountain campus, we saw similar outcomes. Our third grade cohort there reflected 91% overall growth in grade level in reading and 83.6 overall growth in math. In essence, we grow students. That's what we do well. I provided a complete breakdown of last year's data for both campuses as an addendum for your reference. As I close my remarks, I just offer that we are turning a corner in overcoming the effects of the pandemic. I believe that our 13 years of historical performance data underscores our track record of moving students farther, faster towards proficiency. We also believe that our response in and during the pandemic demonstrates our unwavering commitment to putting the needs of students ahead of anything else. And we want to do that with the spirit of excellence. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Dr. Morrison. Board members, are there any questions for the charter holder? I just have a question about kind of the plan for leadership. So who's going to be opening the new, like what leaders are opening the new school? Are you taking leaders from your current campuses to open the new school? Are you training new leaders? Can you talk to me a little bit about just kind of that process for the replication?
Yes, President Lee, thank you for the question. Great question. We have learned over these 13 years how to grow and how to develop, and we have a strong emphasis on developing our own leaders with the shortages, especially in response to the shortages that we've seen. It's imperative. And one of the things that Sun Valley is very unique in, and all schools are doing great things, but we have an emphasis on love and character and integrity. And so as such, I personally have taken a strong stance in making sure that our team members reflect our values, and therefore we need our own internal team members to replicate. So what we've done is we've created, in essence, a grow your own program. And we have, our plans are to plant individuals who are already in existence and working with our organization into the new organization so that we're not starting from scratch. We are continuing to maintain the heart and the character and the integrity of our program. So we plan on replicating a stronger portion of our administrative team internally.
That's great. Okay, so then I have one more question. Have you guys had a chance to look at your, I mean, I know the data isn't officially released because, you know, you have to verify all of that for your state data from last year. Do you guys know, or are you able to share kind of where your testing data from last year kind of sits compared to, you know, to the year before, to FY21?
Thank you, President Lee. We do not have access to that information. What we've done is thus far as we verified our static file, and we went through that with our teams. We met and went through that to ensure accuracy for student reporting, and we await that information, which was why I provided the internal data as best I could so that you could see that growth is happening. One of the things that Sun Valley has a history of is strong growth. There were years where we scored all 50% in the area of growth, because one of the things we do well is we accept children from wherever they're at and we grow them, and we do that just day by day, you know, target by target. And so while our proficiency data is not where we want to see it, and believe me, we have that desire too. We don't only want to grow kids, we want the high flyers. But when you combine that with mobility, and the other factors that we deal with the demographics that we proudly serve. We make no excuse and we have no shame in targeting the children and the families that we serve. But one of the things that we see, and we're prepared to see, that we need to continue to make gains in the area of total proficiency, but we do anticipate seeing growth at a strong rate, even as we took some knocks from the COVID interruptions. We still plan on seeing strong data in the years to come.
Yeah, I think board members, I know whenever we have schools that come up here, I am a big believer that, when we talk about renewals and things like that, there's a different level than when you're talking about replicating a school. I think when we talk about replication, the standard goes a little bit higher, right? Because essentially we're granting a whole new school. Are you ready for that? Are you equipped? Are you going to get the same gains or better gains? All of those types of things. And I would agree. I think that proficiency tells one piece of a very large story of what is happening with students at a school. And something that I feel comfortable with at this school is, one, you do have a track record. I love that BC reference. I'm going to use that at my schools. And of that kind of strong data, which makes me feel much more comfortable about this. But then the other thing I really like to see is when you say that you have growth, do you? And one of the ways that we can tell that, as board members, is that 1 year, 2 year, 3 year phase scores. And you have students in ELA that start at about 30%. And then after they're with you for those 3 years, it bumps up to 38. You have a 10% growth in math. And so it does appear that when students are with you, regardless of what level they're at, that they're growing. And that's right. Proficiency does not tell the whole story. Growth is a huge part of the story. And so, you also, for your letter grade, I can see hit really high, almost all of the growth points, which is really impressive. And that's, I think, what every school is focusing on. AD is that growth. And so it seems like you guys have that. So that, I don't know where other board members at, but that kind of your track record plus the data that is on here. I think you meet that higher level of standard for replication. But obviously, board members, if there's any other questions, comments, or motion, now's the time.
Yeah, board member Lee, Chair Lee, I just wanted to echo your comments. This is board member Stratton. Very impressed with the track record here, and I'll be supportive of the recommendation.
Awesome.
Thank you.
President Lee, this is Hans. If there are no other questions or discussion, I'm ready to make a motion.
Go for it.
I move, based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today, to approve the request to grant the replication charter requested by Morrison Education Group, Inc., entity ID 90192, to establish the Sun Valley Academy Glendale, serving grades K through 8 with an enrollment cap of 900.
Awesome. Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is board member Stratton.
Thank you, board member Stratton. Aaron, with the roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Mr. Tremoni,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye, and I'd like to wish you continued success. I think the work you're doing is terrific.
Thank you.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Ms. Monteith,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Stratton,
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right. Well, congratulations. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, thank you for being here. All right. Okay. Moving on to agenda item J, we have the Co-Learn Club, and presenting. Sorry, give me 1 second, guys. I have to move all my screens around. Okay, and Rachel, you are up.
All right. Good morning, President Lee, Superintendent Hoffman, and board members. Co-Learn Club, Inc. submitted a request to accelerate the timeline for its approved enrollment cap and grade levels based on what was approved when the charter holder came before you for approval for a new charter. The charter holder is requesting to serve 300 students in grades K through 11 at its school site in fiscal year 2023. So that's the current fiscal year. Currently, the charter holder is approved to serve 250 students in grades K through 10 at its school site for fiscal year 2023. The charter holder was approved for a new charter instructing students as an AOI at the board's December 2020 meeting. The school opened last year in fiscal year 2022, serving 180 students in grades K through 9. After year 3 of operation, the charter holder is approved to serve grades K through 12 at its school site. The new charter application considered by the board requested to serve 665 students in grades K through 12 in the second year of operation and 1,160 students in grades K-12 in the third year of operation. During its consideration of that application, the board expressed concerns about the growth plan being very aggressive and the model being innovative and untested in Arizona. As a result, the board approved the charter contract to serve grades K through 9 with an enrollment cap of 180 in year 1, which is what they implemented, grades K through 10 with an enrollment cap of 250 in year 2, and grades K through 11 with an enrollment cap of 300 in year 3 and beyond, and explicitly stated in the motion language that the school must submit an amendment request to go to K-12 in year 4 as appropriate. I'm available for any questions if you have them. This one is a little bit outside the box, so you may have a few questions for me.
All right, board members, are there any questions for Rachel? If not, then is there a representative from the charter here? If so, you can unmute yourself, state your name for the record and any statement you'd like to make.
Hey everyone, so I'm Amber Robinson. I'm the Executive Director at Co-Learn Academy. So we're excited. I appreciate Rachel working with us. It is an odd request, we know, to ask for just not necessarily an increase, but just to advance that enrollment. So one of the things that we had this past year was we maintained that 180 cap and a wait list. We're a very unique model and we understand that. So we definitely understand the board approving it at the rate that they did. This currently we have our seats filled at 250 and students, parents still wanting to enroll. We did have about an 84 to 85% retention rate on our families, which is pretty high for an online school. Yeah. I did provide in the report for you guys data. So it was our first year, so I can't show growth from last year to this year. However, I did provide some of the raw data. Of course, it's not been completely modified if necessary, but I did want you guys to be able to see that so that we can compare ourselves to other online schools as well. I will say with the data, I would like to let you guys know that about 80 to 85% of our families came from a homeschool environment. So majority of our students had never even taken a standardized test. So this was a big deal for them to put them in that environment. And although we'd like to see higher scores, I think they did very well, being it was their first time coming into that environment. So we're excited to get them, they've kind of got that under their belt. Those that did the benchmark testing throughout the year in a controlled environment of their home, we actually saw a lot better results from our August, January, and May benchmarks. For instance, our K through 3 students is one that we really tried to focus a lot on with reading. We saw that growth be large. 54% of our students were at grade level in that age range at the beginning of the school year. And by the end of the school year, 91% were at grade level in reading. So it was a huge improvement. They felt very confident. They would do a lot of reading groups, even though we're an online school. We provided a lot of Zoom sessions for them to do reading groups, and we focused on that area. And so we were excited to see that. And I know that's not an area that's shown in state testing as well. We are switching to use a different provider for our reading assessments and diagnostics so that we can have them see a little bit more Arizona friendly questions that they're used to seeing. So we are implementing that change this year, as well as our teachers are working with our students in an online environment once a month to do not necessarily test prep, so they're teaching to the test, but more, a lot of our students are not familiar with testing. So we want them comfortable with taking just a couple questions. What do they look like? How do you eliminate answers? What do you do if you get stuck? So we're kind of trying to implement that more to help them as well. And we're doing a lot more live sessions with our students, offering live math classes for our students where they attend once a week and they're held more to a set schedule and they have that teacher there with them to guide them. We're doing a lot of reading groups. We're also doing social and emotional groups to work with all our students in K through 11, or K through 10 currently. And so our students and our parents are really excited about that because they have a lot more live sessions to choose from with the students and help guide them a little bit more. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. Board members, are there any questions for the charter holder? I just want to say that, we have schools that'll try to come back and, kind of expand or, do things like that kind of within that 3-year timeline. And we have to look at that, and it's a really serious process, right? We have rules set for a reason. And so we really try to follow them. So everything is equitable for all charters and they kind of know what to expect to come before us. But what I really appreciate about this request is that you're not asking for 1,000 students or 2,000 students, you're asking for a small amount and you have data that shows, hey, we just want the kids who want to be here. And I appreciate that you also provided us data because it is extremely difficult for this board to make decisions without data. And so when looking at that, coupled with you're asking for 50 students that you already, that already want to get in, you have, that you met the state average for ELA, you were below in math, but for your first year as an AOI, I think that, that's, obviously there's room to grow, but to meet one, I think has the data to show that you can handle those 50 more students in that next grade level. So while I typically don't always feel comfortable approving these in the second or third year without the data or with such big jumps, you haven't done either of those things. And so I know I feel comfortable with this approval, and I just appreciate you coming back and, just having good attitude about that and not, just asking for a huge number that we'd really have to kind of sit and walk through. But it sounds like you guys are making just good, solid choices with that. So, board members, are there any other questions or comments, or is there a motion?
President Lee.
Yeah.
I also appreciate having the data, especially, with our homeschooled students who typically don't take statewide assessments. It is really helpful and that was part of the reason why I was part of the board making that decision of approving this charter school, and was very interested in seeing what the results would be. I do have to say, after the last 2 years of our students going remote and seeing like the disruptions to learning, the deficits, the steps backwards in student learning because of our students not having all the wraparound supports of being in person, I'm personally not feeling very enthusiastic about an expansion of this. I think it's okay to keep the model going, keep collecting the data. I still support the plan that we had settled on when they came to us as a new charter. I'm just not very enthusiastic about having more students be online when we have, nationwide seeing the impacts of students learning remotely. And I think that the students in this program are doing okay and kind of like on average on par with many of the students in the state, but there's nothing to wow me to make me think we need to grow the program.
Thank you for that, Superintendent Hoffman. Appreciate that. Board members, any other questions? Yeah, please.
I have a question. So with regards to kind of piggybacking on what Superintendent Hoffman said, just wanted to get a little bit more feedback and maybe some more specifics about math in particular. That seems to be an area that's a challenge across all charters, and schools, not just specific to this charter, but you gave us a lot of really great information about reading groups and that sort of thing, but I want to know on a math end how that's a very difficult thing to teach remotely. So I just kind of wanted a little bit of feedback on how you're planning to navigate the deficits and gaps.
Great question. Actually, my specialty is in math. I have been an online math educator for 13 years until I became the executive director this past April. So I do feel like that's an area I probably have a little bit more knowledge in. So I have, we picked a math content lead this year, and I worked closely with her to help us develop that structured program for our students in math. I will say that when you look at the data, our 7th and 8th grade math average was higher than the state average in the current fiscal year 22. So our middle school actually did pretty well compared to the state in math. So a lot of our focus this year is trying to make math, I don't want to say fun, but in a way fun. Like we want to bring them into more mental math, because a lot of times at the middle school, once they hit that 7th grade, they get calculator for half the time. So we understand, like we even analyze the difference between part 1 and part 2 and try to see, was it students not understanding how to use the calculator on the calculator section, or was it students doing very weak in the non-calculator section? So we broke that down a little bit. We also looked from our math data. We watched for what some of the inconsistency was with the students. And a lot of those we've seen have been fractions and decimals, which are probably across the board for all students at that age, not just ours. So we are doing a lot more. We're having mathletes this year, which is a math club for younger kids. It's actually going to be encouraging that mental math and that that math competition. So our kids are going to be competing in a fun way, but they're going to be doing computation where they're actually working on those skills and not even realizing they were doing it. We slowly started doing that second semester and had great progress with our students that were in that, but we focused just on middle school at that time. This year, we're going to introduce it to earlier grades from 3 through 6. So we're excited about that for those students. But like I said, so we have a math content lead who is working specifically on some of those, I don't want to say test prep questions, but we're trying to, especially when we get more of the data from the state, we're trying to analyze what were the key areas that were really low for all students across the board. Like, is there an area that we need to work on as a school and help encourage our families? I also like to say I'm a homeschool parent myself of 5 children. And so I can say from experience, most homeschool families, since that's the majority of our families where they came from, they typically don't do a core curriculum until a few years later. So I feel like a lot of our younger students, their parents haven't focused as much because they do what I call round the table learning, so to speak. They learn as a whole. So and that was something we did notice. Our middle school students were stronger in skills because they're starting to do more set curriculum with their parents. We've implemented a lot more programs this year for our parents to choose from to help fill those gaps. iReady and Edgenuity Imagine Learning, we've pulled them in. And we're giving our parents teacher access to those programs so that as they're working with their learner at home, they can go along with the teacher. We can give them more supplements so that they can download those worksheets to work on at home. They can hop on a Zoom with us when we have, we do daily activities with our students that they're allowed to hop on. And our parents are really excited to use some of those resources that we're giving them at home to encourage their learners to develop a little bit more stronger math skills as well. But I will say, as a math teacher, it is hard to teach math online. It is difficult, but I do see, just from my experience, having those live lessons and encouraging the students to engage in those live lessons has been one way that I've seen more growth in students that are engaged in the weekly live lessons versus those that are learning on their own at home and just going through the programs.
President Lee, this is Carlos Reese. I have a comment.
Please.
I'd just like to say, looking at this data and the population, I think this is the kind of innovation that that's being revealed and presented to populations of parents and students in the state of Arizona. Like Mrs. Robinson said, this is, most of these students are students that are being homeschooled. I think this is, augments the type of education that the parents and the students want to have. I don't think it's a really big ask as far as the size of the enrollment that they want. And so therefore I'm kind of supportive of this because this is the kind of innovation and the thing that this board, this charter school program is providing to the parents and the students.
Thank you, Mr. Ruiz. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. They're not asking for more than what they're going to get next year. And so I guess I feel comfortable, granting that. I do agree that, obviously if you guys come before us next year and the data is consistently the same, where there's needing of improvement, I think that warrants a whole lot more discussion. But knowing that they're really just asking for what they're going to get next year, and that there is data that shows that they're at least meeting the benchmark, for the ELA, it makes me feel comfortable. But it's not a one woman or one man board. So definitely, I think if we can make a motion, or if, you know, more board members kind of want to comment maybe where they're at to kind of help guide what that motion needs to be, that would be, or should be, that would be great too.
President Lee, this is Hans.
Yeah.
I fully appreciate the comments and the observations by Superintendent Hoffman. Given my personal experience though, and just my intrigue, I guess, with this program, I'm willing to go ahead and look at the continued development and refinement of the system, but I also think that the request is pretty reasonable, so I'm ready to make a motion if the board's ready.
Yep, I don't hear any other comments, so Hans, go for it.
Okay, I move based on a review of the information provided by the representatives of the charter holder and the contents of the request package to approve the request from Co-Learn Club Incorporated to accelerate the approved 3-year plan in its contract, allowing the school operated by the charter holder to serve grades K through 11 in FY 2023 and grades K through 12 in FY 2024, and for the charter holder to accelerate its plan to have an approved enrollment cap of 300 beginning in FY 2023. Any future request to increase the enrollment cap is subject to the eligibility requirements set forth by the board and consistent with the executive summary included for this item.
Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Board Member Stratton.
Thank you, Member Stratton. Aaron, with the roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
I'll just make a brief comment. I completely agree. This is innovative. I am all about seeing how it's working, checking the data. I just still support our initial plan, even though I appreciate they're not asking for 1,000 more students in this year. I just was really committed to having very, very, very slow growth for a reason, because it is so innovative. So I feel like I agree with what was said from board members. I agree it's a reasonable proposal. I agree it's innovative. I just wanted to stick to the original plan, so I'm going to vote no.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Mr. Chimone,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Ms. Monteith,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Stratton,
Aye.
President Lee.
Yeah, and sorry, just a quick comment on my vote too, because I just want to back up everything that the Superintendent Hoffman said. I think what she said is extremely important and not to be taken lightly. I definitely think, you know, if this charter comes before us next year, that the proof has to be in the data for any sort of increase. And so, but with that, I think this is reasonable. And so I vote aye.
Motion passes through majority.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Okay. Up next, we have the Audit Compliance Questionnaire and Operational Framework presented by Andrea.
Good morning, President Lee, Superintendent Hoffman, members of the board. To improve transparency and ensure consistency about what is expected from charter holders and what is reviewed by audit firms, as well as to reflect current statutory requirements, staff is recommending changes to the board's legal compliance questionnaire, USFRCS compliance questionnaire, and the operational framework's audit-related appendix. The recommended changes include 1, adding to the legal compliance questionnaire a question related to the charter holder's financial chart of accounts. 2, revising existing questions in the 2 compliance questionnaires, including those pertaining to fingerprinting and open meeting law. And 3, updating the operational framework appendix in light of the changes proposed to the compliance questionnaires. Staff proposes these changes be implemented with the fiscal year 2023 audits. During the first opportunity for public comment, which closed on August 1st, the board received written comments from 2 stakeholders. The public comment received and staff's analysis and response have been included in the meeting materials. Today's meeting provides the second opportunity for public comment required under the board's procedures. I'm available for questions.
Okay, board members, are there any questions for Andrea? Okay. I don't have any questions either, Andrea. You do a great job, as always, answering all of the questions in your presentation. So we appreciate that. Ashley, can you remind me, this is the second time it came out for public, so we are adopting this now, or does it have to go out a third time?
Presently, you are correct. Based on our board policy and in statute, we do allow for 2 opportunities of public comment. So Andrea did put this out for public comment that was posted and was communicated to all of our stakeholders multiple times. Andrea indicated that we did get 2 comments back. We did do an analysis of those comments and then posted those comments and the changes to the materials here. And then at this board meeting, it is the second opportunity of public comment. So at this time, you all are voting to approve this item, and then there's no additional opportunity for public comment. It will go to the secretary's, it will update our processes.
Yes. Awesome. Okay, thank you. So last chance, board members, any questions or comments? And if not, then is there a motion?
No more. Presently, this is Hans. I move to adopt the changes to the board's legal compliance questionnaire, USFRCS compliance questionnaire and operational performance framework found in the board materials and presented today, and direct staff to make necessary changes to other relevant documents to reflect the board's action at this meeting. I further move that these changes be implemented with the fiscal year 2023 audits.
Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Board Member Stratton.
Thank you, Board Member Stratton. Aaron, with the roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Mr. Tremoni,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Ms. Monteith,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Stratton,
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrea.
You're welcome.
All right, up next, we have our FY24 budget presentation and discussion presented by Serena.
President Lee, and good morning, members of the board. Each year by September 1st, the Arizona State Board for Charter Schools must submit a budget request to the legislature requesting funds for the following year. Based on the funding received in FY23, the executive director and staff is recommending to the board to not request additional appropriations in FY24. The FY23 budget, which can be found in full in your board materials, included the following appropriations for the board: ongoing funding for the board's new IT system, funding to support 1 full-time assistant attorney general assigned to the board, and salary and staffing appropriations to fund the board's 24 FTEs and increase support and opportunities for existing board staff. It is of the executive director and staff's opinion that the ongoing funding received in the FY23 budget, a total of $3.176 million, will be sufficient to cover all necessary expenditures for the fiscal year, and additional appropriations in FY24 are not necessary. However, the FY24 budget request can be amended after submission if needed, and I am available for any questions.
Are there any questions for Serena about this? Okay, I don't have any questions either. So if there's a motion to accept.
Okay, President Lee, this is Hans. I move to adopt the fiscal year 2024 budget proposal found in the board materials and presented today. The board authorizes board staff to submit the budget proposal reflecting appropriations, anticipated revenues and expenditures, and any other information as required.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Board Member Stratton.
Thank you, Board Member Stratton. With that, Aaron, you're up.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Mr. Tremoni,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Ms. Monteith,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Stratton,
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Awesome. Thank you, Serena. Okay, up next for items M and N, we're going to go ahead and invite Vicki to do the introduction. I guess, Vicki, do you want to do the introduction separately? I do know that we're going to most likely end up in executive session, so I'd like you to maybe just do both introductions so then we can just go into an executive session one time. That would be, and discuss both items. I think that would be best just for everybody's time and technology. Is that an appropriate course of action?
Yes, it is. And I think that'll be most efficient for the
Okay.
board. So I'll do both introductions and then we can discuss or possibly move to go into executive session for both items. Item M is Arizona Education Solutions. Arizona Education Solutions submitted an expansion request to increase its enrollment cap from 1,258 to 2,185 in FY 2022, 3,713 in FY 2023, and then 6,320 in FY 2024. On May 10th, 2021, during its meeting, the board made a motion to approve the charter holder's request to increase the enrollment cap from 1,258 to 2,185, which was the amount they had requested for the fiscal year 2022. On July 16th, 2021, the board received Arizona Education Solutions notice of appeal of its partial enrollment cap. Since receiving the appeal, the board staff and legal counsel have been working with the charter holder to resolve and work through the issues, and have also continued the hearing date with the Office of Administrative Hearings. This item is coming before the board for preferably in executive session, to discuss and consult with the board's attorney and for legal advice concerning this item, and to consider your position and instruct your attorney regarding the board's position in pending or contemplated litigation or for settlement discussions. The next item, item N, is Pinnacle Education Keno. On November 20th, 2020, the board approved a motion to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter, for failure to meet the operational performance expectations set forth in the board's operational performance framework, and for violation of the charter and state and federal law. The Office of Administrative Hearings held a 5-day hearing in late February and early March of 2021. In August of 2021, the ALJ, the administrative law judge, rendered OA's findings of fact, conclusions of law, and recommended order. At the board's October 2021 meeting, after consideration of the ALJ's recommended decision and presentation by both parties, the board rendered a final decision to revoke the charter. Subsequently, in November of 2021, Pinnacle Keno filed an appeal in Superior Court for a judicial review of the board's administrative decision. In January 2022, this current January, the Superior Court held oral argument on the Pinnacle Keno's motion. They had filed a motion to stay closure of the school pending the resolution of the judicial review. At that oral argument, the board also requested a motion to remand at that time. The court ordered the matter remanded back to the board and vacated the board's original order. And that is where we are currently today. And this item also is being brought before the board for discussion and consultation with the board's attorney, for legal advice concerning the item, and for consultation regarding pending litigation and possible settlement discussions. At this time, if the board chooses to go into executive session, you can make that motion for both items, and then we can go into executive session and do both items at the same time.
Okay, well, board members, I just think we have a lot to unpack. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and move to enter into executive session for items M and N. Executive sessions for both items M and N are for the purpose of receiving legal advice from the board's attorney and for discussion or consultation with the board's attorney in order to consider the board's position and instruct its attorney regarding pending or contemplated litigation or settlement discussions. Is there a second?
Second, Carol.
Thank you, Dr. Crockett. Aaron? Go for it.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman.
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Mr. Tremoni,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Ms. Monteith,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Stratton,
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, so guys, we will be put into our own little breakout group. So just hang on and we'll make sure everybody moves over and then, yeah.
And Dan, go ahead and move us into that breakout room. Okay, Aaron, I do believe that we are all back from executive session. Dan, are we good with the live recording and YouTube? Okay, all right, we can go ahead. Aaron, if you want to just do a roll call really quickly.
Absolutely. President Lee, President Lee.
He's not here.
Okay. Vice President Close,
Here.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Here.
Mr. Chimoni,
Here.
Ms. Barr,
Here.
Dr. Crockett,
Here.
Ms. Foster,
Here.
Ms. Montier,
Here.
Mr. Ruiz,
I'm here.
Mr. Stratton, Mr. Stratton, Mr. Swanson. All righty, we have a quorum.
Okay. Now that we're in regular session, I will go ahead and I'll make a motion to authorize the board's attorney to proceed as instructed in the executive session held for items M and N. Is there a second?
Second, Carol.
Dr. Crockett. Okay. Roll call or
Yes, absolutely. Vice President Close,
aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Mr. Chimoni,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Ms. Montier,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Stratton,
Aye.
President Lee. None. All right. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, very good. On to item O. Ashley.
Vice President Close, I do not have anything to report to the board, and let me look at my calendar really quickly for the next board meeting date for all of you. The next board meeting is going to be September 12th.
By Zoom.
Yes, as of right now, to be fully virtual.
Okay. All right, that's it, Ashley.
That's it.
Okay, and then that's it for the meeting. And so unless there's anything else, we're going to be adjourned.
Thank you.
We're adjourned. Everyone have a good day.
Thank you. You too.